I see some friends there, so it's wonderful. Hi, Yael.
Joanna. I also invited my mom because she wants to hear you play, so she's on too.
Hi, Pablo. Hi, Marcy. These are the friends that I know. I see you guys there. I'm thrilled to be here today on such unusual circumstances. It's beyond crazy what is happening right now in the world. So we need to bring some good news and make sure that we have the messages of hope and we keep going and we continue the good work. Sorry, I'm trying to navigate computer at the same time as I'm trying to navigate my talking and playing. First, I want to start with a little bit of music before I even start talking, because you can hear my accents. To those of you who don't know me, I come from Poland in Europe, and I started my education, musical education over there. And then later on, I came to the United States. I will tell my story today. But because I come from Poland, I want to start with a piece that is very close to my heart. Piece written by a very famous Polish violinist who lived in 19th century, so some time ago. And his name was Henry Wieniawski. He was violin virtuoso. And he wrote a lot of beautiful pieces of music. So if you want to find his music on YouTube, he spells Wieniawski as typical Polish last name. Wieniawski, Henry Wieniawski. So I will play a piece which is called a bagpipe player. It's a very cheery, uplifting piece. Has a lot of, I'm picking up my violin. Has a lot of techniques. We call it extended techniques on violin, where we use more than one string all at once. Because bagpipes, as we know, they have this like drone note that undergoes at the bottom, and then on top of it there is melody being played. So Wieniawski was trying to imitate bagpipes playing, and so he added a lot of different techniques to playing, like pizzicato with my left hand. I will be doing like plucking on open strings, and I will be doing a lot of playing with chords. So those are, when I'm using more than one string, I'm using 2 or 3 or sometimes even all 4 strings that we have on the violin. Here we go. So this is Wieniawski's Dudziarz. It's a mazurka, and let's do it. Kaczorowski, and that's piece very dear to my heart because I was born in Poland some time ago, long time ago, and that's where everything started. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So because I'm so lucky and privileged to live in the United States and to be born in Poland, two wonderful countries, and because Debbie, wonderful founder of Mentor Project, Debbie Heiser, mentioned my TED Talk, which talks about mentoring and about my path for how I became a professional violinist. I'll talk about it, how it all started. So I was born in a very small town in Poland. It's very tiny. We have 10,000 people living. They had not a single violinist in this town. My grandfather is a musician, was a musician, and he played clarinet. And when I was 6 years old, he told me one day that we're going to music school where he teaches. In Poland, we have public music schools, which are free for kids who are talented and they want to pursue their musical interests and talents. So he took me to music school, which was an afternoon program, daily afternoon program after the regular school. And little did I know that he was plotting and planning to get me into the music business. Because he played clarinet and majority of his family played clarinet, I knew what it means to be a musician. I knew that you have to practice a lot. I knew that you have to spend countless hours practicing, polishing little details in the piece before you actually go in the beautiful shining light of the stage and celebrate the beauty of your work. But it takes hundreds and thousands of hours of very tedious, sometimes boring, sometimes exhausting practice time, where we musicians polish all the details of the pieces that were written for us that we want to perform. So when I was 6 years old and he took me to music school and he announced to me, "You'll play violin," I did not like that news. I didn't. I was very scared of what was coming, and I knew that this will mean that I will have to be locked in my room with violin for many hours every single day, practicing and practicing. And I did not like the idea because also violin is a very difficult instrument. It's very squeaky at the beginning. I mean, you make a lot of like, when you are just a very beginner, it's even very hard to learn how to hold the bow and how to hold the violin properly. It's not the most natural instrument. It's, in my opinion, the most difficult instrument that there is among all the Western music instruments. We have only 4 strings and we don't have like guitar players, we don't have fretless. We just have to learn and intuitively figure out where the notes are. So this process, this learning process takes a long time, takes years to master that. So I want to tell to all the students and children who are today on this call, please don't get discouraged. Once you pass the initial stage of very difficult learning how to hold the bow, how to hold the violin, and how to make the sound, then it gets easier. But the initial stages are the hardest. So my grandfather took me to music school and told me, "You'll play violin because you have a good ear," which means that you can sing really well. You can repeat the rhythms when they are clapped back to you. And I said, "Why violin? I actually like piano better." And he said, "Well, because if one day you will want to become a violinist, a professional violinist who actually makes money playing violin for a living, you will have more job opportunities." And I said, I was 6, I said, "No way I'm becoming a violinist. I don't like the instrument. I don't like practicing this squeaky instrument at all. And I'm not gonna become violinist, but because you want me to play violin, and I'm the only grandchild, So I guess I'm doomed and destined to play violin. So I started practicing, and very soon I found out that I did not like practicing at all, like I predicted. So I tried everything possible in my powers of a little child not to practice. So, for example, we had a beautiful garden of a lot of trees, fruit trees in Poland by my house. I figured one day when the spring came and it was nice and warm outside, that if I climb the tree and I take a book with me so I don't get bored sitting at the tree, because at that times we had no cell phones. There was no cell phones when I was a little child, believe it or not, and there was no laptops. So the only thing I could take with me was the book. So I took the book, I climbed the tallest tree. I was very skilled and flexible, and no member of my family could climb that tree because it was too difficult to climb it for them. So I would spend the entire afternoon up to the evening sitting at the tree, on the top of the tree, and reading books. So of course, in this way, I did skip my practice time. So my grandfather, who was very wonderful and loving grandfather, but very insisting on the fact that I practice violin. Why? Because he failed that mission with my mother. While she was getting her music lessons in their house, she was escaping through the window. So, and her music career of a singer didn't go far. So my grandfather, determined by the previous failure with my mother, decided that the mission is going to be accomplished and that I will definitely play the violin no matter what. So he knew which tree I was climbing. One day I went in the morning to school. I come back in the afternoon back home, and the tree was gone, was chopped. So I had my favorite tree gone. I couldn't climb, but there were other trees. So I very soon figured out how to climb the other trees. And so it was a walnut, it was a cherry tree, it was an apple tree, another apple tree, a plum tree, you name it. There was a big garden there. And so my grandfather was truly determined, and so he kept chopping all those trees down, the trees that I was climbing not to practice. Now, why didn't I want to practice so much? I believe after all these years of training and going through a lot of schools, that what I was missing in my childhood was the figure of mentor, a great figure of mentor. Speaking of the mentor project, wonderful project by the way. I was missing a really strong mentor figure of a teacher who would be greatly involved in my teaching and my learning of violin skills, and not just teaching me how to play the scales or etudes and all the technical, giving me inspiration and guiding me and saying, hey, there is this great recording of this famous violinist, Isaac Perlman. Why don't we listen together during the lesson? Since I lived in a tiny town in Poland, and I had not much access to big concert halls, which they were located in bigger cities, in Warsaw, in Krakow. The closest was in Bydgoszcz, but of course we did not go there for the concerts because it was a big trip in those times and in those conditions. So I was missing a figure of inspirational mentor. My teacher was not really inspiring at the very initial stages of my education, not really interested to be a mentor to her students. And so I felt it internally very much so. And I, as much as she probably was resisting being a teacher and she did not necessarily like her job, I think I came to that conclusion after many, many years analyzing what was happening at that stage in my life. Her resistance to being a teacher became my resistance to being a violinist and my resistance to not wanting to practice. But I guess my life had different plans for me. And one day, when I went for competition, I was already much older. When I went for violin competition where my school sent me to, one of the jurors in the competition, one of the person that was judging the competition was this very, very, very famous violin teacher in Poland. Her name is Joanna Kaczorowska. She died 8 years ago already. She was a wonderful influence in my life. So I went for the competition, and I really was not planning on becoming a violinist. So I want to tell you about a set of interesting events in my life that put me on a path of becoming a violinist, because I really wasn't planning. I was resisting that idea, and somehow my life led me to becoming a violinist, even though it was not my plan. So I went for a competition, and I played one of the pieces that is very important for violin literature, Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto. And after my competition performance, this very important Polish teacher, #1 Polish teacher in violin back then, some 30 years ago, no, maybe less, 20 something years ago, she said, I need to speak to the teacher of the student of Joanna. I need to speak to her parents. And she was a very opinionated lady. And she said, who is the teacher of this Joanna? And my teacher sheepishly raised her hand and she said, you're a terrible teacher. You don't know how to teach people. Her bowings are not good. Her fingerings are not good. She has tremendous talent and she has great ability to be fantastic violinist, but you're not a good teacher. So you should not be teaching in the first place. That's what Professor Kaczorowska said to my teacher back then. Of course, the teacher had a major nervous breakdown. She got very angry and very upset. This was only the confirmation of what I was always thinking, that my teacher was not really in love with what she was doing. There was a huge scandal. At that time, I was already a student in high school, and in 12th grade, and I was planning to go for music, for MBA, Masters of Business Administration. I did not plan to become a violinist, not at all. I was thinking, well, who nowadays becomes a musician? This is such a weird job, and how do I get jobs, by the way? Where are the jobs? Because it's a very unusual job, and can really musicians make living with their jobs? So Professor Kaczorowska said, I want you to apply to the university where I teach, or the college for master's degree. And I said, no, I'm not applying. I'm not applying because I'm not disinterested in becoming a violinist. She said, what? You're not interested in becoming a violinist? I'm the #1 teacher in the whole Poland. And you tell me straight into my face that you're not interested in becoming a violinist. I said, no, I'm not interested in becoming a violinist. Please understand. She said, here is the piece by Paganini Concerto. She said, maybe you're scared of becoming a violinist. I challenge you. This is a piece in 3 months' time. We have the entrance exams to the university where I teach. I challenge you to learn this piece. Perhaps you can't learn that piece. And of course, she made me very angry saying that. She used reverse psychology very, very well. Very smart lady. And I said, I can't learn Paganini piece. I can learn anything. And so I embarked on a journey of learning this piece. I had really 3 months time left. Typically people prepare for the entrance auditions and exams for the colleges for at least a year, typically 2 years. That's how I prepare my private students. We start preparation in my private studio where I teach in Huntington and in Stony Brook on Long Island. I prepare people 2 years ahead of time for their auditions. And that's why we have such a great success rate. My students get scholarships, they get admitted to the universities wherever they want to go, and the music conservatories. I had 3 months. It was crazy. But I just locked myself in the practice room and I said to myself, I can learn Paganini. And the Professor Kaczorowska said, I will give you just 1 lesson to get ready for these exams. And we'll see if you manage to learn this piece on your own with 1 lesson, preparatory lesson only, I'll take you if you learn it really well. So I go that very, maybe 2 months into the process where I had 1 month left before the exams. I go to the university, we called it back then Music Academy, now it's called University, Music University. I go there for a lesson and I stand under her office where she was teaching and I hear the same piece being played, the same exact piece played so well, and it's such a difficult piece, it's hard. It was giving me a headache. There were so many difficult, extensive techniques like double stops like this, and going very fast and furious, and it has to be perfectly polished in tune. And I hear this piece played perfectly well. And what happens? I enter her studio and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is such a great player. He's fantastic. He must be already finishing his master's degree or doing maybe even a doctoral studies because this is such a difficult piece. I enter to her studio and then there is a 9-year-old playing this piece. I was speechless and I said, this is ridiculous. I should not be applying to become a violinist. If a 9-year-old can play a piece which I'm struggling with, what is the point? And Professor Kaczorowska, I told her this. I said, I want to go and study MBA. This is nonsense. And she said, honey, she always said, honey. She had this very sweet way, but very authoritative way of speaking. She said, honey, everybody has their time to grow and blossom and mature. Some people mature earlier and have ability and access to great teachers, like this little girl. I've been teaching her since she was 5 years old. And her father is a great violinist. So she had all the circumstances given perfectly on her plate. And so she was very, very lucky in her circumstances. She said, you had very bad teachers at the beginning of your violin education. So I'm gonna help you and let's see where it takes you. And if you wanna switch majors later on, switch, but I think you're talented and we should give it a chance. So she helped me. I auditioned for the music university where she taught, and I got in to her studio, which was pretty remarkable because she was very famous. She had studio in university in Poznań, and she also had created the school for the child prodigies in Poland, which is called Poznań School of Talents. Basically, she would go to competitions all over Poland, and she would pick and choose the best players and bring them back to her School of Talents, where she would nourish them with her amazing, inspirational and super inspiring ability to teach, and her skills and her being inspiring, going with her students for concerts. She was also the president of the Wieniawski competition back then, which is the biggest and oldest violin competition in the world. And it happens in Poland. And she was the president of the Wieniawski Society and president of Wieniawski competition. So she was a juror there. So she invested her life and talent and her wonderful teaching skills in me, who was very much behind on my violin playing from the little school back there in some small town in Poland, while she already had super amazing talents when winning the international competitions. She had a lot of faith and she really changed the course of my life. I did not plan to become violinist, and she showed me that it was possible, that it's beautiful, and she taught me how to be passionate about music and about playing. She taught me all the technique that I needed to learn. And she said, don't despair. Yes, there's a lot of people who are better currently than you are because you did not have good teachers at the beginning, but I'm gonna help you. I will guide you, and we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if you even like it. So this was amazing, amazing mentor. She was an amazing mentor in my life. So after that story, I want to share with you some wonderful music by Fritz Kreisler, another wonderful violin composer who was a violin virtuoso, like Wieniawski. Fritz Kreisler, if you want to Google him or go on YouTube and listen to his beautiful pieces, his last name spells K, R as in Robert, E as in Evelyn, I as in Irene, S as in Stephanie, L as in Laura, E as in elephant, R as in Robert, Kreisler, Fritz Kreisler. He has a lot of beautiful pieces written for violin. They're tiny little gems. They're called salon music, just like Wieniawski's music. And they're very pleasing to the ear, and I really, really hold those pieces dear in my heart. So what I will play is the piece called Liebeslied by Fritz Kreisler. Yes, I know. It's a lovely music. It's lovely music. It's inspired by old Vienna, by Viennese music, and it's just a beautiful waltz. And I really, really love this piece. So I'm very happy that I could play it for you today. So there comes my Polish master's degree in Poznań, where I was studying with Professor Kaczorowska, and she was the type of a mentor that was very strict. She was the typical Eastern European stern type of a teacher where there was no discussion, there was no questioning or asking me, what would you like and how would you like to do this? No, it's like, you must do it this way. I know because I am excellent teacher that if you follow my guidance to the dot and to the point, you will do really well. So, and there was not really, it was not two ways exchange in between us in terms of musical education. And why that was so okay and fine for that time in my life? Well, because I really did not have great technique or skills that I learned from my previous teachers, because they were not very good teachers, and from my little music school. And so she knew that she has to give me a very quick and very intense course of learning violin, because I was pretty behind with people my age at that time from the highest and best school that she had. So I was behind with those people in terms of learning, and in terms of repertoire, in terms of my skills. So I embarked on a very tough road where I said, I really love what she's showing me, how the music world looks. I love playing concerts. I enjoy spending time with musicians. I enjoy going on concert tours. I started liking that life, but I had to follow her very strictly what she was teaching me and how she was teaching. So I did. And as a matter of fact, in the course of my entire master's degree, which in Poland lasts 5 years, it's a combined degree of undergraduate and graduate together, put together in a course of 5 years. She actually gave me a fast forward of approximately 10 to 12 years of learning how to play violin. So I had to practice a lot, and I knew that I am lagging, and I knew that I need to put a lot more effort than my friends in her studio. So if they practiced 4 hours, I practiced 8, because I knew that I was behind. And it was very tough time, but also very happy time, because I had developed beautiful friendships at the time with lots of people who are musicians at Music Academy in Poland, in Poznań. And I remember one day I wanted to really badly learn how to play this beautiful piece based on Carmen, opera Carmen. And I went to Professor Kaczorowska. I learned the piece on my own, and I was so excited. I loved the piece. I spent so many hours to practicing that. And I went to her for a lesson, which she was a wonderful lady. She really devoted her entire life to teaching her students. We would go to her home. She would always give us dinner first. We would eat, talk, chat, watch TV, play computer games. And then we would have violin lesson, which lasted 3 hours. Seriously, it was very devoted. She was a very devoted teacher. And she was like this with all of her students. So I go to her lesson with Carmen, and I say, Professor, I learned Carmen Fantasy. I love this piece so much. Here is how I play. And I played it, and I remember, because my violin champion is Anne-Sophie Mutter, a German violinist. She's wonderful, wonderful violinist, fantastic player. And I learned this by listening a lot to her recording. I said, I learned Carmen, and I learned it with Sophie Mutter recording, and I played the Carmen. And Professor Kaczorowska smiled very genuinely, and she said, honey, I appreciate that you learned Carmen Fantasy, but for as long as you're my student, you will not learn pieces on your own, and you will always follow every single direction of mine. And so we're gonna take this piece away and rework it from the beginning as if you have never learned it, because I want very specific bowings, I want very specific fingerings, and I don't like what you did with the piece. So, you know, there was a lot of struggles, personal struggles, in my reaching to the wonderful and much better level of playing violin. Now, how did my story with United States came about? That's a very interesting story. It's almost as interesting as me meeting Professor Kaczorowska at the age of 17 or 18 and me going for MBA and she switching my life completely from MBA route to violin degree route, which was a sudden shift, completely not planned, at that time not really welcomed, but out of sheer curiosity and being competitive and wanting to prove to her that I can learn the Paganini concerto. That's how I became violinist on the track to become a professional player. So as I was studying with Professor Kaczorowska in Poznań, Wieniawski competition, violin competition, was celebrating anniversary of the competition. I don't remember which anniversary, but they invited the best, most famous players who won this competition from all over the world to play with their symphony orchestra and to celebrate them. So there were very famous people coming, like Igor Oistrakh, a son of famous violinist, Russian violinist David Oistrakh, who won also first prize at this competition. And one of the invited people to play at the anniversary concerts, it was a series of concerts, was a very famous American violinist and the only American violinist who in the entire history of Wieniawski competition won first place. His name is Charles Treger. Charles Treger, T-R-E-G-E-R. He came to play concert. He played amazingly, absolutely amazingly. His playing was stunning, beautiful, sweet tone, refined. And he was this wonderful person. And we had workshops with him in my music university where he was teaching the 10 Beethoven sonatas. And so the best violinists from entire country of Poland were picked and chosen to play for him. So sometimes people played not even the whole sonatas, but played some movements. So there was 15 to 20 violinists from all the biggest towns and biggest universities who came to play for him and be featured for him. So he was teaching this master class on Beethoven sonatas, 10 Beethoven sonatas cycle. Strongly recommend. Now that you're sitting at home with COVID and you don't have anything to do and you maybe think, what else should I listen this afternoon? Go on YouTube or on Apple Music and type Beethoven violin piano sonatas, Beethoven violin piano sonatas. They are beautiful sonatas, like Spring Sonata number 4, beautiful first sonata. There is beautiful Kreutzer sonata. So strongly recommended to add to your playlist. So Professor Treger came to teach masterclass, and all my colleagues from entire Poland were playing for him, and they were really amazing players. And I felt, again, you know, I was getting much better, and my playing was getting much better because I was already 2 years into studying with Professor Kaczorowska, but I still felt, you know, that those 2 years were very intense, and I improved a lot and greatly, but I still felt like I still have a lot to do and a lot to learn. So all these people that were playing, my friends that were playing for Professor Treger, they were already pretty famous. They won a lot of competitions, some of them won prizes at the Wieniawski competition. And since he was American and a lot of people really wanted to come to United States and study, every time after they would play, they would go to him. He taught them very nice, beautiful techniques how to play. They would go to him and they would talk to him and they would ask him, would you please consider taking me as your student in the United States? I would love to come and study with you. And one by one, he said to everyone, no, I have nothing to teach you. You're a very good violinist already. I have nothing to teach you. I have nothing to share with you. And so I saw that happening because I was actually helping to translate from Polish to English the master classes. So I was all the time nearby with Professor Traeger, and when somebody would not know how to speak English well, I used my English to translate. So that's how I saw that these people were coming to ask him, can we come and study with you? Now, after I played sonata, I think I played sonata number 7, I believe. I don't quite remember, but it rings a bell that I played sonata number 7. After I played, I said nothing. You know, we had a good, cheerful conversation with him about how to play, how to improve. I remember I made very funny mistakes when translating because he was talking about using the bow as a brush, painting brush, and I translated to the audience at the master classes, which there was like 200 people from all over Poland there at the master classes listening to him teach. And I translated the painting brush into a toothbrush. So there was a lot of comical moments to those master classes because this was the first time ever I spoke with an American. In Poland, we studied British English. So there was a lot of words and different words from British that I would translate differently. Anyway, I played the sonata and I said nothing because I felt completely not even good enough as all these other friends of mine who played for him. So it would not cross my mind ever to ask him to study in the United States. And after my playing, he comes to me and he says, Joanna, and he was this already elderly guy, very lovely, very, very sweet, very kind, very generous, very, very gentle. He said, Joanna, would you like to come and study with me in the United States? And I was shocked. And I said, what? You want me to come to study in the United States with you? He said, yes. Would you? And my response was, no. I said, no, I'm not ready to go to the United States. I just joined Professor Kaliszewska's studio 2 years ago, and I still have a lot of catching up to do with the rest of those people that you just heard. They're so much better than me, and they have more pieces in their repertoire, so I need to catch up. And she's an amazing teacher. So I don't want to hurt your feelings and say no, but I think I have a lot of learning to get done with her still. And she teaches me a lot and in a very intense way. And he said, okay. He said, because I think I can teach you a lot of good things on violin. I have actually a lot to teach you. I said, that's great, but I'm not ready. And besides, I said, you know, my mother is a teacher in high school in Poland with a salary of, if you translate into dollars, of probably $600. And I heard that in the United States, the schools are paid and you have to pay for university. And where would I get $20,000 for American university? I said, that's not possible. Nowhere ever in my dream would I think to pay $20,000 for my school per year. And he said, no worries, I'll give you a scholarship. I said, what? He said, yeah, you will not have to pay for school and you will be my teaching assistant. I said, wow, great, but I'm not going. I'm not interested. So he was shocked because he had all these great players approaching him, asking if they could study with him. And he said, no. And then he approached me as the only person. And I said, no. But I said, no, not because I didn't want to study with him. I really wanted to study with him, but I knew I was not ready. I was not ready. I needed to grow more as a player. So 2 years later, we stayed in touch with Professor Traeger. 2 years later, 4 years into my studies with Professor Kaliszewska, Professor Traeger contacted me and he said, now or never. I'm going to retire in 2 years' time. Now or never. This is my last class I'm taking. Are you coming? I was in my 4th year of my master's degree studies in Poland, and I had 5th year ahead of me. I said, oh my God, I have to put 2 years in one to finish my master's degree. So I very quickly said yes. I felt so much stronger as a violinist. I knew I was ready. I was ready to go to another teacher. I knew I was ready to become more independent As a player, I had so many more skills. I came to the level of my friends, and with a lot of them, I actually surpassed them at the exams. So I felt stronger than ever in my violin skills. We had the points system was from 0 to 25. I remember my first exam when I played, I got 18, and then on my third year of studies, I got 25, and then fourth year, I got 25, so it was max. And a lot of my friends who were 25 from beginning were actually going down. They were losing interest, they were not focused enough, but I was on a steady up the hill trajectory to get better and better and better. So 2 years later, he says, come. And I say, okay, I'm going to United States. It was a big decision. I'm the only child from my mom. And my mother said, sure, go to United States if that's what you want. If that's where your heart takes you, it's a big step. You can always come back if you don't like it there. Go. And I got full scholarship. I got teaching assistantship. I remember I had like $450 of teaching assistantship, and my dorm cost $500. So I was still on minus $50. So I went and worked and I went to University of Massachusetts Amherst. Professor Traeger taught there. And I remember my shock. I came to the United States. I loved United States. I loved this country. People were so kind and nice. Everybody was happy. Such a beautiful gathering of people from all over the world, which was at the time very different from Poland. And I made the best friends for life over there with my American friends, with my Czech friends, with my Chinese friends. And my first lesson with Professor Traeger was such. He gave me the piece. He said, here, there is a Brahms violin sonata in G major. And I said, ooh, I don't like this piece. He said, I know you don't like this piece. I said, how do you know? I don't like this piece. And he said, I know that you like big, flashy pieces that are super difficult and virtuosic. But I think that you need to learn how to play soulful, slow, not too complicated, and how to make something very intricately beautiful out of simple music. You don't like to play simple music. I will teach you how to play beautifully simple music and make it beautiful. I said, no, I don't want to play this. And he said, yeah, but you have to. I'm your teacher. So it was, again, friction between us. And he did something completely crazy, in my opinion, back then. He gave me the music and he said, go, learn it and see you back in a month. And I was like, what? I don't understand. With Professor Kaczorowska, I would have 5 lessons per week, and she would tell me each and every note, how to play it, what bowings to use, what fingerings to use. She would never allow me to practice on my own to learn the piece, like with the Carmen. And here comes this very famous, amazing American violinist that I just was worshiping as God of violin, as much as I was worshiping Professor Kaczorowska. And he tells me, just go for a month, learn it, and come back for a lesson. I said, what is this? What kind of teaching method is that? I need a teacher who guides me in everything. He said, I know. He said, I know how Professor Kaczorowska teaches. Well, I have to teach you how to become now an independent violinist from your teachers. So you can go into the world and make musical decisions on your own. I need to teach you how to become independent music artist. It was shock for me. I called my mother. I said, you know what? I may just go back to Poland because this whole teaching style is weird. He doesn't teach me. He is not seeing me for a month, and he assigned me the piece, which I absolutely hate at this point because it's not flashy piece. It's just very melancholic piece. My mother says, just survive 1 semester and see how it goes. And then I said, okay, fine. I take the challenge. And slowly and steadily I learned, and Professor Traeger, as we started going on our journey together of a mentor and a student, he taught me how to become an independent musician. So he taught me how to, with all the skills that I learned in Poland, how to become an independent violinist who can make decisions on her own. So then I want to tell you how I made it to New York and to Carnegie Hall. But before that, I want to play a song that I recently played for my friends when we gathered together over Zoom meeting, because we are in kind of difficult times, so we need a little bit of an uplift. I want to play a song which I like very much, which is called I Can See Clearly Now the Rain Is Gone. It's my favorite song, and I'll play it um, with the accompaniment that I got online, and hope you enjoy it, and then I'll tell you the rest of my story. So let's try how it goes. I have to turn on my, okay, I think we're ready. This is the technology 101 for me in terms of how do I turn on my accompaniment, since we are all stuck in our houses and I can't use my pianist, Pablo. And I'm there to help me. So, who's a wonderful pianist and dear friend of mine. Here we go. I love this song. I love this song. It's dear to my heart. It has very uplifting message, which we need right now for COVID times. We will survive, particularly us people in here in New York. And then we have to get united in the fight against COVID. Stay home, stay safe, everyone. So, so that's that. After studying with Professor Traeger, who taught me how to become an independent artist, I decided to go for doctoral degree in violin performance. I know there's such a thing, actually. And one of the best schools in country and the world is Stony Brook University, where I currently work, and I'm a professor. And I'm not saying that because I work there, but it really is the case. It's a very famous doctoral program where a lot of people from famous conservatories like Juilliard School, for example, come and get their doctoral degrees. Over there, I met amazing professor, amazing mentor of mine, Professor Philip Setzer. Philip Setzer, S-E-T-Z-E-R, S-E-T-Z-E-R. Philip Setzer is a member of one of the top American, if not the best, string quartets, the Emerson String Quartet. Emerson String Quartet, like the writer. Emerson String Quartet. Please Google them. Please listen to them. Please add them to your playlist. Really cool pieces. They recorded pretty much everything. They have 9 Grammy Awards, so he has a lot of Grammys, maybe as many as Lady Gaga or more. And he became my teacher, and he became my mentor, together with another teacher, Pamela Frank, very famous American violinist, and Annika Vafian, who is another famous American violinist. Now she teaches in Yale, and Pamela Frank was teaching in Curtis. Now she's teaching, I think, in California. But Phil Setzer was a very influential figure in my life because he taught me how to believe in myself. So I got the technique and skills from Professor Kaczorowska. I got the ability how to become an independent artist. The mentor of my second biggest evolution as a violinist was Charles Traeger. He taught me how to start making my own musical decisions and take charge of my musical message and playing. And Phil Setzer was the one who empowered me to believe in myself. You know, I went for a lesson with him, and he is this kindest person. He's to this day my mentor and dear friend. And we have studios now next to each other at Stony Brook University. And this is my absolute dream come true, that I'm teaching at Stony Brook University. If you told me this when I was his student that I will be teaching at Stony Brook University one day, I would tell you that you're hallucinating, that it's not possible. So it's a great privilege and great honor to be at this very renowned music department as a faculty now. So when I was taking lessons with Phil, Phil would come to lesson and I would play, and he would say nothing, but he said, "Wonderful." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful." He said, "You're such a charismatic performer." I remember to this day, he said, "You have such charisma, like, you know, like Katharine Hepburn when she goes on stage." And he said that, and I said, "What is he talking about?" You know, I was not this very good violinist from Poland. I really did not have a great self-confidence because at Kaczorowska's studio, I was studying, and my friends were these amazing violinists. But clearly, she saw something in me, Kaczorowska, that's why she took me so late in the game. Then Traeger saw something in me that was potent and interesting, and so he taught me how to become an artist. And then Phil Setzer said, "You're a great violinist. You're just like a ready product. You have to just polish those things and these things, but you're very powerful on stage. Your message is very strong. We need players like you, and I strongly believe in you being like a really amazing performer." And at first, I really didn't believe him. I said, "What is he talking about? You know, I come from this small town in Poland. I struggled for first 12 years of my life. I had these really terrible teachers. They didn't like what they were doing. They were not good. Then I had to struggle to come to a certain level and raise myself above with Kaczorowska. Then I came to United States as a complete change of my life. And Traeger taught me, among many other things, how to expand my view and how to become this artist, not just a student of techniques, but artist. And now Setzer says, "Yeah, you're great, you're ready. You're just ready to go on stage and do it." And so he is this super important part in my life because he told me, "You're great." And I didn't believe him at first, but because he has 9 Grammy Awards and he's so famous, and I love his playing is so great. Every time I hear him, I always just go to him and say, "Unbelievable, so beautiful, so refined, such a wonderful sound quality." And listen to his recordings, please, with the Emerson String Quartet. Emerson String Quartet, put it on your playlist. Unbelievable, unbelievable. So he told me that, and slowly and steadily I started believing in what he was telling me. At first I was like, no, this is nonsense. I'm not really that great. You know, I'm still in the process and struggling through all the obstacles, like in the song I just played. But he said, no, no, you're ready. You can go and play to the world and enjoy your artistry, and you're ready violinist. And what you have to say through your violin is really powerful and strong. So through my studies with him, I became empowered. His trust in me and his belief in me, that I was a good violinist, a strong violinist with a good message for the people, made me feel like I actually knew what I was doing, and that I started believing in myself, and I started getting more, I started feeling better about myself when going on stage, and finally I came to the stage in my violin life where I felt this really strong, empowered, focused artist who knows what she has to say, what she wants to say, through different pieces, depending on circumstances, depending on the pieces, depending on the music that I was playing. So, you know, there was this growth happening in my life through all these many years. And believe me, if you play any instrument or do anything in your life, you know, we need mentors. No one can just pick a violin and learn on their own. We need mentors, we need great teachers. You have great teachers, you'll be successful. You don't have great teachers, well, it's really a luck, because that's for the strongest of the strongest. But instruments like violin, you have to have great teachers, because instrument on its own is so difficult, so to master. So I went through all these 3 stages of mentorship with my teachers, where they taught me the skill, that's Kaliszewska, where they taught me how to be an individual artist on my own. And then when they empowered me, that's Phil Setzer, empowered me into believing that I'm this very strong, useful and good artist who can go and play and do my job. And that's how that was the stage that empowered me, and I started playing a lot of concerts. I was getting invited for music festivals. I was invited for music festival of David Finkel in California, who is the director of Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center. He was the former cellist of the Emerson String Quartet, and that's where I met the director of Carnegie Hall at that time, Ara Guzalimian, who just at that time was the artistic director of Carnegie Hall. And that's when he heard me, and that's when he invited me for playing in Carnegie Hall with people such as Yo-Yo Ma, cellist, and with people such as Michael Tilson Thomas, the conductor, who then later started inviting me to go down to Florida and play with his orchestra after we collaborated. That's when I went to play with Itzhak Perlman at his music festival. The best of the best of the best. So the knowledge, the skills, the knowledge, the artistic skills, and then the empowerment made me this whole person who could go into the world and face the biggest names in classical music industry, and they actually liked my playing. So I ended up playing with Itzhak Perlman and playing for his festival twice, 2 times in a row. I played with the Emerson String Quartet multiple times, and then I was invited to this wonderful program as only 2 violinists in the world, which is called the Ensemble Connect. Ensemble Connect, you can Google the project, is the only ensemble that Carnegie Hall actually has and formed, and that's Ara Guzalimian, former director of Carnegie Hall. He then became the Dean of Juilliard School. He personally invited me onto this project. And so I was collaborating with them for multiple years. For 2 years, it was very intense, and then it was going for concerts for them. So that's my path. And then Stony Brook University came as the place with the job for me. So I could not be happier working now with my mentors, with Phil Setzer, with the Emerson String Quartet, with the most amazing musicians who work there. And so I really want to give a strong message that we need mentors in our life. And if you don't have mentors, seek them in your life, look for them. whatever your discipline is, whatever you're doing, even if it's like spiritual mentors, find the books, read them, particularly for this time that we are in. This is the time as I saw this sticker somebody sent me on Facebook, because we are now on Facebook, all of us, and somebody said the sticker, if you can't go outside, go inside. So it's a good time to reflect on our life. It's a good time to connect with our loved ones. It's a good time to spend more time with our family. It's a good time to focus on what's important. It's a good time to master new skills. It's a good time to read books, new books. It's a good time to take violin lessons. Find me if you want to, as I'm teaching now entirely, completely online, and I'm doing all teaching for Stony Brook University, and for my private studio, I do everything online, as we all do right now. So that's the story of my life, in a little bit more expanded version than the TED Talk. I want to play for you, see, I played for you some classical music. I want to play for you two pieces before we finish. One will be the Polish piece by Wieniawski, again, W-I-E-N-I-A-W-S-K-I, Henry Wieniawski. That's a Obertas. It's my favorite piece of music that I play a lot, because I'm Polish from Poland, so I keep promoting this composer, who is not that very well known still. And I will play Obertas by Wieniawski, and then I want to finish with some nice uplifting tune for all of us, for the COVID times, for the times of isolation, for the times of staying together and helping each other. So here we go with Obertas by Wieniawski. Again, this piece is very fun for me and hopefully for you. It has a lot of extended techniques, like, for example, harmonics. For violin, I touch the string very lightly. It sounds like flute. It has trills. Very fast movements of the finger. It has chords. It has left pizzicato. If you hear something like this, that's not a mistake. That's a technique that Wieniawski is calling for. So I'm plucking with my left hand. So it's a very fun piece of music, and I want to play it for you. And then I'll play another piece of music, and we'll be done. So here we go, Wieniawski. So that's Wieniawski. And since we are in special circumstances right now, in times of COVID, which I can't stress more, I recently did a recording actually on, and forward this on social media to my friends. where I'm asking for help for New York. If any of you are listening and you are able to donate money to hospitals in New York City, in New York State, or in your places wherever you are. And since we are all struggling in this fight against COVID and to save people's lives. In New York, we don't have enough respirators right now. So if any of you know about respirators that could come from somewhere to help New Yorkers, please contact our governor, Cuomo, or contact the hospitals directly. They are taking donations. Hospitals have direct websites right now with donations. So if you can donate to the cause so the hospitals can buy supplies like gloves and face masks and respirators, please do. So I want to play for you this piece, which I will also play with the accompaniment, which I posted on my social media. By the way, feel free to friend me on Facebook, and feel free to friend me on Instagram. And I just recently joined Twitter. My friend Yael suggested Twitter, so I did. I have just one post there. I'm on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. So these are all the social media where I am. And I played this piece, which I love very much, and I think all of us get the feeling of connection in those difficult times. So this piece is the Hallelujah by Cohen. And that will be it for my today's presentation. So because this requires also help from the internet in terms of I'm playing not alone but with the help, let me just make my technology happen. See, violin is an instrument that does not require electricity. For past 300, 400 years, we can play without electricity, and we don't need, in times of hurricane, for example, Hurricane Sandy, I was getting together with my friends and playing for them when we had no electricity and just candles. So this is what's great about violin. We're independent of electric grid. So that's it for today, my friends. I'm very, again, privileged to be here on this mentor project. Thank you so much, Debbie, for inviting me. What a wonderful work you do. What a wonderful work you do. Thank you so much for this time. Sorry it took so much time, but I figured we actually all have it.
That was amazing. I just got
Anna, you're amazing. We love you so, 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 so much.
That was amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friends. I'm very happy you could spend this time with me. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me.
By the way, Joanna, my friend in Italy is watching you too through my phone on here. She says you're amazing too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really honored and privileged that you spent your time and with me, and that you took me to your homes. And Debbie, what a wonderful work. And please follow Debbie and her mentor project, everyone.
Joanna, thank you. But thank you. Really, you're a beautiful soul, and it comes through in your music. And you really did. I'm gonna let you speak. What did you want to say? You're on. I'm not sure of your name. I can't see your name. I'll just say we're getting chats about how wonderful you are. Everything. It just sent chills down my spine to listen to you today. You brought a ray of sunshine. I can't thank you enough. This was so amazing. Do any of the kids want to say anything to Joanna? You can unmute and ask her a question, or if you have anything to say.
This is Sophia from Iowa. I really enjoyed it.
Hi, Sophia. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Do you play any instrument?
Yes, I play violin.
Oh, young lady, congratulations. Please be patient. I always tell my students, and I apologize to my students, I say, I apologize for making those boring exercises, but they're necessary. Please be patient, and I'll help you. And so be very patient with your teachers, because they're trying to help.
Thank you.
It was really good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mickey.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Susan Burnstone has been saying this was an amazing performance. She said this is awesome. So we have several chats coming in for the Shire folks who aren't coming on the to say it in a live format, but we have another minute if anybody would like to say anything to Joanna or ask a question.
Love the story. It was very inspirational.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Hi.
Oh, story was amazing.
Hi, guys.
Very.
I see my students here. my Anthony and Juliana. They are my little cutie pies, and that they're adorable, and they're so patient with me as their teacher, you know, cranking up all these exercises difficult on them, and they're doing fantastic. Thank you guys for coming today.
Mick Lewis sends a shout out too, just so you know.
Oh, hi Mick, how are you?
He said, thanks, Joanna.
Of course, anytime. Thank you so much.
We love you.
Oh, we love you too. I love you too, guys. Thank you so much.
Our favorite songs you play.
Oh.
So unless there's another question or a comment, I'm going to say thank you again. Oh, we do have another one. Neil said, truly memorable, Neil Comans.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Neil.
He's giving a wave and a thumbs up. I don't know if you can see in gallery view what everyone's doing. You have people on, oh, we got a thumbs up from Lori's iPad also. And from Pablo.
Oh, thank you, Pablo. Pablo is my pianist, my fantastic pianist that should be here, but we are all isolated.
And Marcy Deacons.
Marcy, thank you, Marcy, for coming. My friends, all my friends.
So I'm going to be sharing this. I'm probably going to try to break up all of your songs into individual ones so that people can hear it, that we're on the West Coast. We heard from the West Coast that they would love to hear you again. It was early for them, but I'm definitely going to make sure that everyone has this available, and I will share the link with you. But if anyone wants to go to the website to hear Joanna, hopefully we'll have this up in a day. And it's www.mentorproject.org. And thank you for your mentorship, Joanna, and for all you do to brighten our day today and every day.
Organizing this amazing, outstanding mentor project. And for all the kids, I mean, I know that Juliana and Anthony are my students. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you can watch amazing lectures for children organized by Debbie in the times of COVID right now on any topic, on math, on coding, on you name it. So you should check the Mentor Project.
The Mentor Project is www.mentorproject.org. And, oh, Neil Coleman says, Joanna, his first appearance on TV was in Carnegie Hall in 1961.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
He was in the audience, not on stage, with Lenny. So
wow.
that's pretty
Lenny
cool.
Bernstein. Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. By the way, my website, Violin Joanna Easy, because my last name, forget it, Polish last name, forget it, with spelling. But Violin Joanna at Gmail, no, violinjoanna.com. And then if you want to contact me, it's violinjoanna@gmail. So Joanna with double N's.
So Joanna, just share with me, if you don't mind, all of your contact information, all of your social media, so we can post that.
Great, I will.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to say goodbye now, but thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.